Good morning and welcome to the morning show. We're going to put the spotlight today on St. Mary's School. Joining us is Mrs. Stacia Kolstad, who is the principal at St. Mary's School. We have students here today. We have Bailey Wirtz, we have Isaac Newberry, and we have Brielle Whedon. And we have Father Nate Kuhn here today as well, making his WRCO morning show debut. We'll start with you, Stacia, since you're the most veteran person here of this whole thing. You've been on this program a few times.
I have.
How's the school year been going?
It's off to a really great start. And I probably say that every year. But I feel really good about this year. We have a strong middle school, and I think that really makes a difference. These 8th graders here might get some big heads if I say that. No, they're great, and they've been really good leaders. And so when your middle school is kind of like on task, on point, and good leaders, it just really sets the stage. Because as you know, the younger students look up to that. And I think that just makes a world of difference. So we have a lot of good activities going on. It's been great to welcome Father Kuhn here into our school family. And so, yeah, we're pretty pleased with the first quarter that we just had.
How fast the first quarter goes, doesn't it?
Every year it really does.
This year, the students, I know the 8th graders, they always have special plans and things going on, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But is it a pretty good 8th grade group this year?
It is. I always tell them they're my favorite 8th graders that I have in the whole school. So they're doing a lot of great things, the 10 of them. They just recently had an opportunity to lead the all-school relays for All Saints Day. And so they can tell you a little bit more about that. But they're coordinating 150 kids in our small gym, doing a number of different relays and activities. So it's slightly chaotic, but mostly fun. And we look forward to some other things they have planned this year. I
was going to ask you about numbers, right around 150 then?
For kindergarten through 8th grade, 140. 150, and then we have large preschool classes as well. So they did some obstacle courses for the preschoolers. We're at about 177 kids this year, which is as large as I can ever remember.
I was going to say, the numbers are really good, aren't they?
They are. We have wait lists in a number of classes.
Mm-hmm. You have new students coming in quite often, and they don't necessarily have to be from the Catholic faith, correct?
No, they don't. We have students just from a variety of walks of life, and we're happy to welcome anyone in, when we can. And I hate putting people on a waiting list, but it's also not the worst problem to have.
What about sports? Do you have a fall sports program?
We do. We have a very robust volleyball program. We are just blessed with some of the best coaches for our students starting in 5th grade. So our 5th and 6th grade have a team, our 7th and 8th grade have a team. Sometimes they're so large we kind of have to split them into 2 teams because we have so many girls out for it. But they had a pretty good season.
Awesome. I know that St. Mary's School Children's Choir will be a part of the upcoming concert on Saturday or Sunday, the Veterans Tribute. Any of these students in the studio going to be in that choir?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look at my list. It's kind of, if you can make it. Our kids are very busy and involved in a lot of things, and families have plans on Sundays, but we're hoping to have a good choir there. Mrs. Noer is our music teacher, and she's helping direct the whole program. So we thought it was pretty great that she invited our students to come and sing on the stage in the auditorium. They're learning more about the history of it, and then just a really nice way to honor our veterans. So we're hoping to have a nice-sized choir there for the students who can make it.
It sounds to me like there won't be a dry eye in the place, though. They're singing some pretty good songs.
They are. Veterans, I love walking past the music room on those Mondays when they're rehearsing. They're doing a nice job.
Awesome. Well, let's turn it over to the students and see what's going on with them as well. So we say good morning, first of all, to Brielle Whedon.
Hi.
How's the school year going?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about some of the activities you're involved at St. Mary's.
I do volleyball, and I'm also in student council, and I play softball, and I'm in Sea Perch this year.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Tell us about Sea Perch, about your project this year.
Well, this is my first year doing it, so I've never really done it before, but we're doing like a mission course, and from the storms, it's on storms. And
so what have you learned about it so far? Have you got a project in mind that you're going to be, you put together this contraption, don't you?
Yeah, so they normally go through like a mission course where you like go to pick something up and then go back through, and I really like it. It's really fun.
Awesome. And as far as St. Mary's, if somebody asks you, why why do you like going to St. Mary's? What would you answer?
I really like how we're really close with the people in our class. Like, we've been with them, most of them, since 4K, and it's really nice.
So you've been there your whole school career then? Wow, that's awesome. And as far as looking to the future, have you thought about a career? I know that's a long ways off, but have you thought about something you'd like to do?
I mean, I want to be something in, like, the Medicare field or, like, med field.
Mm-hmm.
I like kids, so I really, like, want to be a pediatrician or some sort.
You must like school, too, then.
Yeah.
Because you'll have a few years after high school. That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming in and joining us here today. We'll come back to you in just a little bit. Also joining us today, we have Bailey Wirtz. Bailey, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
Awesome. Tell us about some things that you're involved in.
I play soccer, but this is my last year since next year I'll be doing track in high school. I play volleyball and basketball for St. Mary's, and I also do sea perch.
Has the season started for basketball yet?
No. Not that I think of.
Practice will start before too long.
Yeah, really soon.
Mm-hmm. And you were involved in soccer, you said?
Yeah.
And is that like a traveling club, or is it?
It's just like Raries and Mesa here.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. What sports do you think you'll play in high school then?
Volleyball and track and basketball.
You're going to stay busy then.
Yeah.
What about a favorite subject at St. Mary?
I really like history. I learn a lot in history, and I just really like learning about all the things.
Awesome. Good. And have you thought about a career?
Yeah, I really want to be in the med field as a cardiologist.
Wow. Yeah. Pretty impressive here, Mrs. Colstead, so far.
They are. I'm not surprised.
Tell me about, now, are you involved in Sea Perch?
Yeah.
You are, okay. Do you know much about your project and what it's going to entail?
So every year there are these different things that we do. Last year we went to Milwaukee, and we basically make these bots that we are like underwater robotics, and then we go through a series of courses. So like one of the courses is like mini hula hoops in the water that you can travel through, and our teams are like in our grades, so we are pretty close to the people on our teams, and we just figured them out today. And then we get like different colors of t-shirts, and we get to pick our name, and then we always have a mentor or two.
Are there different levels of the competition then for Sea Perch that you do?
Yeah, because there's different like age levels and different grades and like how much you know. Like us 8th graders, I mean, we've been through it for like 3 years. I've been in it for 2. I started in 7th grade, but yeah.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and then that'll take place later on in the school year then, is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's just starting up.
Awesome. Let's turn the microphone over to Isaac Newberry as well. Isaac, good morning to you.
Morning to you too.
Tell me about some classes that you're involved in at St. Mary's. What's your favorite subject?
I like history because
More recent stuff, or?
so I like war history from like World War II, World War One,
Awesome.
stuff like that.
Good. And are you involved in the Sea Perch project as well?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you like about that?
So I like actually running it because I do the mission course where you can like pick up objects with a hook that is made from that's 3D printed.
Awesome. So how does it work? Do you have basically a model, like a kit that you put together?
Yeah,
or how
so
does
it's
it
a
work?
kit. It's made out of PVC pipes, and there's 3 motors, and then there's a battery. So there's a battery on the side of the pool, and there's a remote that you have to solder together. I discovered I like soldering from Sea Perch.
Awesome. Something you use later in life then,
Yep.
obviously. Have you ever had any epic failures where like sinks to the bottom and there's no return?
I didn't.
Okay.
Last year,
You've heard tell that it's happened.
so last year, the other team, their motors were kind of weak, so it was kind of hard to pick up things for the mission course.
I see.
So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So you try not to laugh if that happens, I presume. Then. So.
Yeah.
Have you thought about a career that you'd like to be involved in?
I want to be part of the automotive engineering world.
Very good. So you can use some of your Sea Perch skills from that as well.
Yeah.
So
Because I enjoy to work on cars and small engines, dirt bikes and stuff.
good. So you're a hands-on guy.
Yep.
Yeah, we need some of those in the workforce. Let's talk a little bit about some of your other activities. Are you involved in sports?
So I do soccer for Raries and Mesa.
Okay.
Well, I do Raries, but like, yeah.
That season just completed. How did it go?
Yeah. So it's kind of, they do different teams every year. They switch kids and stuff like that. So
Uh-huh.
it was pretty good, I'd say.
Won a few games, though?
Yeah.
Do you plan to play in high school?
Yeah.
Good. Well, the Hornets can use some numbers, so good deal. We'll come back and talk to you a little bit more, but we have Father Nate in the studio. I want to use the opportunity to introduce him to the community. How are you, Father Nate?
I'm doing well, very well, thank you.
Good to have you in the studio with us here today. So you've been on the job a few months, our first chance to have you behind a WRCO microphone, but have you enjoyed your time in Richland Center?
I have. It's been very wonderful. Lots of good people. Been able to settle in quite well. I enjoy the community, and it's just been, I've definitely enjoyed it. Learning the ropes and getting to know what, about the community and things that are involved in, the parish and the school and all that. So,
what parish were you at before this?
So previously, I spent the last 5 years in La Crosse. I wasn't at a parish particularly. I was the director of vocations, which meant that I worked with the young men who were studying and in the process of becoming priests. And, that took me kind of all over, like our diocese, which is about a third of the state. So I do a fair amount of traveling, doing, I like to describe it similar to kind of like a military recruiter coming into a high school. It wouldn't always be at a school. We have some Catholic high schools throughout the course of our diocese. We have 7 of them, and then different other various schools too, but kind of filling in on the weekends as well. So going and traveling and speaking about vocation and speaking about, what is God calling you to do, right? So in general, like walking with people and asking that question, helping them figure out what God is inviting them to do, but also in a particular way, working with the young men who are looking at becoming priests.
When did you get the call? Was there a recruiter that recruited you, or what happened? Where did the light bulb go on?
Well, I wouldn't say that it was a recruiter that got me. It was kind of looking up to my pastor when I was young and assisting at my home parish. So I grew up in Neilsville, so a couple hours north of here. So a smaller community than Richland Center, but we were involved in the youth group and different things at my church. And the pastor was encouraging, right? And I kind of saw him as a model and kind of an example. And when I was young, it was probably been about the 4th grade when I first started to think about it. There was a desire that I had to serve other people, to help other people, to walk with other people. And I saw in our priest that we had someone who did that, right? And so kind of I could see almost in him something that I would want to do when I got older. So that was kind of the first idea, when I was probably about 10 years old.
Yeah, that's pretty young, isn't it? Or is that common?
It depends. I would say, having spent the last 5 years working with young people as they, that's one of the questions that I would often ask is what led them here, what started that journey for them. And some of them are young. They get that thought early. Like for me, when I was that young, the idea was there. And so it was kind of in the back of my mind. I didn't always say, well, this is what I'm going to do. It wasn't certain by any means. But that stuck with me as I got older and started to consider careers and what my gifts were and how I was going to use them, put them into practice. And then I kind of said, well, maybe this priesthood thing that had stuck in the back of my mind, maybe there's something to that. I should probably check that out. So kind of that invitation that God had and kind of placed in my heart back then, again, at a variety of times, like it would come in and out. And even when I was studying to become a priest in the seminary, actively, engaged in that study, there was times where I was like, I don't know. So it wasn't for sure until I got nearly to the point where I was ordained.
Mm-hmm. So you did question yourself a few times along the way, and here you are.
Here I am.
How many years have you been a priest?
So I've been a priest for 11 years.
Okay.
So I've had an opportunity to be in a number of different places and different assignments. I began 2 years in Marshfield, Wisconsin, and then I was up in Wausau for 2 years. And then I came down more south, and I was in Genoa, which is about 15 miles south of La Crosse, right on the Mississippi River. And I was there as pastor for 2 years. And then the last 5 years I've spent in La Crosse as the director of vocations. Mm-hmm.
So you've been able to recruit a few. I mean, get more priests. That's the goal, right?
That was the goal.
Yeah.
And I think it was a very rewarding, task and really role that I played in seeing. It was inspiring for me as a priest to see these young men who were able to hear that call in spite of all the different things in the world and say, you know what, there's something here that, I'm perhaps being called to lay my life down in service of God and my brothers and sisters. And it's a kind of a radical call in the midst of a world that presents a lot of different other options. So it was, really neat to be able to walk with them, and on their journey throughout the course of that study.
I asked the students about St. Mary, but what do you like about St. Mary when you came here? I mean, what was one of your first impressions?
I was very pleased with just the size of the school first and foremost. It's one of the larger schools connected to an individual parish. We have some of the bigger locations throughout the diocese that have consolidated like almost districts that are Catholic schools, and so they begin from like the pre-K all the way through high school. We have 7 of those districts throughout the diocese, and I've been able to be connected to three of those different ones as chaplain at the different high schools in my time. But so coming here, it was very great to see a very active, a very flourishing school. And some of the things that the students just mentioned too. The sense of closeness. It's kind of a family, and it's very tangible. Coming into that, and we have wonderful teachers. Wonderful principal, and just that the whole kind of dynamic. It really does feel like a family, and so that's been a very great opportunity that I've had to come into something that's already like that.
Do you walk the halls then? Do you help out in the class or anything like that?
On occasion, yeah. I enjoy coming over, and sometimes it's more disruptive, I think, for the teachers than anything. I'll pop my head into a class, or I'll stop into gym class, when the kids are running around. And I do get in the classrooms, usually try maybe once a week or once every other week, kind of just visiting each of the classrooms and being able to be present there.
Do they school you in recess, do they, once in a while?
I think they sometimes they try.
Is that true? No comment. And then I want to get to the bottom of this church league softball thing too. So you came in, you had a few home runs in church league softball this year. I don't know, that's kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, I did. Well, I played baseball growing up, so that was kind of my primary sport. So it was actually before I arrived, I got an email from Benny Green, who was the kind of our captain for our team at St. Mary's, and he said, "Hey, Father, I was wondering if you'd like to join us and play softball." And I said, "Oh, couldn't miss that chance. I definitely enjoy playing." So
he was the first to ask you, because I wondered, because there's 2 St. Mary teams, right?
There is.
So now, are you a free agent now in the off season?
Yeah, I'm taking. I kind of looking at the market. Taking in to see what kind of offers I'm going to get, and depending on which team I land on next year.
The best Sunday dinner or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's keeping your options open.
That's right.
But I think it's important to be a part of the community and do things in the community like that. I'm sure you would agree.
Oh, definitely. And I was very pleased to hear that it was a church league softball. I've been in a number of other places and haven't had really an opportunity to see, and most of the time those were things that used to be. I heard many places where we used to have a church league softball, we used to have a church league this or that, but that kind of fell apart. So when I came here, whether it's the softball and now the volleyball, things where the community, the different churches in the community, it's centered around the participation in the faith. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm very pleased to be able to be part of that.
Great. Good to have you along. We're going to take a break and come back with more in a moment. We're talking about St. Mary's School today. We have Father Nate here. We have Stacia Kolstad, and we have students from the 8th grade class, and we'll have more in a moment. We have guests from St. Mary's School and Church here to join us in the Morning Show studios today. Glad to have you along on a Friday. We're going to talk again to our guests in studio, Stacia Kolstad. Some things coming up here in the month of November. Maybe you can talk us through a little bit what's going on at St. Mary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we touched a little bit earlier on our participation in the Veterans Day tribute on the 9th of November, but we also, of course, have our own Veterans Day program on Tuesday the 11th at 9 a.m., which the public is able to come to in our gymnasium. Just a nice put together of songs that our students in preschool through 8th grade have prepared for this. We have Richard Waslick coming in, Army veteran, talking about the honor flight that he was on. So he's a parishioner. He makes pancakes, for the kids at school, which they love, once a month, and it'll be fun for them to hear from him and an experience he had recently. Other than that, a few more exciting things happening at our school, kind of inspired by a couple of the students who had been spending a little more time with their Bibles as we started a Bible study. And so kind of looking into it and searching programs, we found one, the Heart of a Christian Athlete, that we thought would really work well for our young gentlemen, especially the ones that we have in our middle school that seem to be very like athletic minded, but also we're very open to a Bible study. And so it's completely voluntary over their lunch period and their recess period every other week. And for that, we have Brandon Ewing, who's a parishioner and also one of our basketball coaches, coming in and talking to the gentlemen for that. And then for the ladies, they are lucky enough to get special guest presenters. And so we have a series that we're doing called Belong. We have 28 girls signed up for that. So we have almost all of the girls and all the boys in the middle school. And that's going to focus on kind of their relationship with God. Sometimes the lies the world tells us, whether it's about body image or gossip or social media, and really how the truth is rooted in Jesus. And so we're also lucky we have some great parishioners who are baking sweet treats, for the kids to eat during it, which doesn't hurt anything. But each of the girls and boys groups have had a session so far, and we are just so pleased that so many of them are willing to do this on a completely voluntary basis and using this time to kind of grow together, with the help of parishioners and support there to grow closer to God.
Yeah, you need help from the community, don't you?
We do. And I think, they hear from me a lot. They hear from their teachers a lot. But I think just bringing in more voices and more perspectives just helps them see how it is to live as a Christian, live out your faith in everyday life. And we have so many good examples of service within our parish, within our community, that I hope it just inspires our students, all the students in Richland Center, that you see the adults volunteering. I hope that they just realize that's a great way of life, is to serve others, and that they're called to that when they're older as well.
I'm impressed that they're willing to give up a recess. When I was that age, it'd be like recess or read the Bible. I don't know. That'd be a tough choice for somebody my age back then. Back.
Yeah, I just think it says a lot about our students and also the time that we're in. I think there is just kind of this revived call towards our faith, and so it's been really fun too. Mm-hmm.
You're seeing some positive things, I'm guessing.
I think so, and I think that this just gives everyone a lot of hope, like in the future where our young people are at, having good discussions, being good critical thinkers, and then kind of looking to, when we need to make difficult decisions, when we encounter difficult parts in our life, we have role models we look to. We have sacred scripture we look to. We have a community of people to support us.
Yeah, wonderful. You wanted to talk about connected to learning as well, right?
I did. So every year we kind of think of how do we want to focus. We write school goals. And, one this year was certainly to bring our students closer to their faith in a number of ways, but also to really build up our students. And this has been a focus for a couple of years, their hands-on learning, their background knowledge, their vocabulary. And so our focus this year, we're calling it connected learning. And the preschool teachers work together, kindergarten, first and second work together, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8. And they kind of broke the year into quarters and kind of thought, what's our focus going to be, and how do we get our students out about in the community, learning, experiencing things? So for instance, kindergarten, first and second, they went with the topic of transportation, because what young kids don't like, different modes of transportation. So they'd have videos. We really wanted them to learn vocabulary, because really all of this is going to help their learning and reading in the end. And then they had maybe some guest speakers. They took some fun field trips. They went to TC Auto Works, and Corey there was able to show them all about cars and how you fix them, and they could see the shop. They actually got to go to the Lone Rock Airport, and Paul Peckham and Ed Lineweber showed them their planes. They might have got to sit in the cockpit. We had a parking lot party. So we had different people bring in, whether it was a boat, a skid steer, a jet ski, tractor. I mean, just trying to get as many different forms of transportation for them to see, experience, learn some background knowledge. And then it all culminated with a build. And so they had a lot of recycled materials. And we'd put a kindergarten, first and second grader on a team together, and they got to build whatever mode of transportation. So there was planes, there were monster trucks, there were school buses. My favorite was probably like the taco food truck. I thought that was extra creative. But, it's been really fun. That was their first quarter focus. 3, 4, and 5 was on food and fitness. So they had a number of people from the community come in, doctors come in, dentists. They got some very basic first aid knowledge. They learned about the digestive process from a dietitian from the hospital. Ended in a healthy food fair where they got to taste a number of sweet treats that were made with maybe healthier ingredients. And so the teachers have just done a phenomenal job finding ways to involve community members, involve experiences to kind of enrich those lives of our students.
Yeah, that's great. You use the resources you have, some of the parishioners and people you know in the community to help out, right?
It is, and I think then they'll see these things when they're out and about in the community. They'll see these people, have some connections. And a spoiler alert, I know some topics coming up in second and third quarter might be communication. Oh. And so talking to students about the different ways we communicate, whether that's newspaper, whether that's radio, whether that's a podcast, whether that, interviews, whatever that might be.
Oh, that sounds fun. It reminds me a little bit of the old days, like we would hear about the one-room school, and you have the grades combined, kind of learning, reiterating maybe for those that have already learned it, and then for those that are learning for the first time. I think it's a good combination, isn't it?
It's beautiful. And I think this whole idea came when the kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers last year, they literally gave kids supplies and they got them in these teams and let them build. And it looks chaotic and it looks messy, but then once you're hearing the conversations, you're seeing, cutting cardboard is hard. So you're seeing the fine motor, you're seeing the thinking that goes behind everything. We're like, we need to do more of this, right? That learning from one another in just a variety of, this is what kids should be doing. Like reading, math, science, of course, that's all important. That's, where we keep our focus, but there's so much that can be learned from good communication, from problem solving. Like these are the skills we want our kids to have.
Putting down the electric device, right?
Yes, that's kind of a focus of ours.
Looking somebody in the eye.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that. Let's talk again to the students. We'll put them on the spot a little bit. Are you looking forward to the upcoming mission trip, Brielle, as you look down the road here this year?
I'm very excited. I've been to Kentucky before, but by the Appalachian Mountains, and so there's a story behind this because
go ahead.
We were trying to find my mom and my family were trying to find this park, okay, in the middle of nowhere, Appalachian, Kentucky. And my mom got us lost when we tried to find, so we were stuck there for 2 hours because our GPS ran out of service. So we were just and then we just found a creek, and then we were just eat lunch there, and we've eventually found our way back to the interstate, but it was kind of crazy.
You were really remote, weren't you?
Yeah.
The GPS didn't work, and
no.
Yeah, that's old school. You probably had to look at a map or something, right? So coming up, I know during Catholic Schools Week, we always have announcements on where we have the older students paired with the younger students. And now that you're an 8th grader, you'll be doing that. Do you remember when you were a kindergartner or first grader and a student that you may have been paired with?
I remember in kindergarten, I really wanted to be in 8th grade because they got to do a lot of cool things and a lot of extra things. And I'm really excited this year.
Here you are. Yeah, that time has gone by quickly. So.
Yeah.
Good. Let's talk as well to Bailey Wirtz. Bailey, do you remember when you were a youngster and maybe a student that you were paired with?
Yeah, I remember when I was in kindergarten and my partner was Gracie Parker and I had Noah Muller as also someone in my grade. And I so looked up to her because in kindergarten I could never color in the lines or anything. And she was just really good at coloring and drawing and stuff. And she was really nice. And I just remember looking up to her and I'm I'm going to be like that in 8th grade.
There you go.
But I don't think I'm that tall as she was. I think we progressively get shorter as the years come by.
I think, though, that you don't remember that because as a little, pre-K or 4K or whatever, or kindergartner, you seem pretty tall.
She was 4 feet taller than me.
So you're looking forward to the mission trip as well?
Oh, yeah. The only places that I've really been to are South Carolina, North Dakota, and Hawaii. I've never really been to Kentucky or anywhere over there, so I'm really excited for that. And I really like helping out people who need help. With my mom's store, I usually I always talk to the people that come in there. I like talking to everybody. I talk a lot. I think my teachers would say that too. But
that's a good start. You sure you're not interested in radio then? Or?
Oh, I'm very interested in this. Don't worry about that. But, yeah, I'm just really excited to help people out. And last year, I remember I was good friends with all the 8th graders, and they said they learned a lot of stuff, like how to use more materials, how to make concrete ramps or like to use wood and stuff. So I'm really excited to learn more stuff like that, like how to build things. And I feel like last year they said how they got so close over that whole mission trip. I mean, it's a week with my classmates, and I'm really excited for us all to get like even closer than we already are. And that's just like a great way for all of us to like click and everything.
You and Brielle have to learn how to use a hammer, though, probably, right?
No. Great. Well, people better be wearing some special gloves and stuff. Let's hope we don't have any broken fingers.
Sure. Well, you all have your specific skills, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So. Well, let's ask Isaac as well. Isaac, what are you looking forward to as far as the mission trip is concerned?
So I can't wait to like build for like decks and stuff like that because I work for my dad, Newberry Carpentry.
Good plug there.
So I have some skills I can use for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you do know your way around with a hammer.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. Looking forward to helping out there any way you can.
Yep.
And what about do you remember when you were a small St. Mary student and who you were paired with?
So I came in 4th grade.
Okay, so you weren't that small, but
no.
a few years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, but you were probably paired with an older student at the time, weren't you?
No, that was just a kindergarten.
Oh, just a kindergarten thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
And you guys have the Walk for Virtues later this year too.
Yep.
So you're getting ready to walk 10 miles, right?
Yep.
Right. Have you completed that task before?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Wearing out your shoes. So the school year goes really fast, though. Here it is already the second quarter. So you're looking forward to some upcoming things there for the school year then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Well, good to have you in the studio with us today. Good luck as you get down the road here. And I guess you were some of the best. You were handpicked here by Mrs. Kolstad, right? So
They were handpicked.
handpicked.
Yes, we knew they would represent well.
Good. We'll bring some more of them back a little bit later on in the school year. So, and Father Nate, as you look at, do you have goals personally? Some things that you'd like to implement, or some things that you can see you'd like to see at St. Mary, either for the school or for the church?
Yeah, I think one of the things that looking ahead, I'm still in the learning process, right? So of course we're lifelong learners, but learning, getting to know the people, the students involved, the parents of the students, but just, for me personally, I'm not the best with names, right? So that's one of the things that, I kind of struggle with. So, for me personally, a goal is, continuing to learn names, but also just, being connected with the people, being connected with the students at the school, the teachers, working, side by side with them. And then in the church too, learning how between me as as the pastor can work and provide for, the people of our parish, but also the community too. Being able to kind of bring forth, and continue to grow, the presence of our community, and the good work that is being done, whether it's through the school, but also supporting the community efforts that are going on, and allowing St. Mary's to be an active participant in the various roles that, a church can be in. So providing for example, like the food pantry and the different other community outreach programs that are there, kind of investing in those. And, well, for me, learning about them as I've kind of begun here, learning the workings of that, but also encouraging others to work together. For us to be able to work side by side with one another, building a better community that we can have here.
Will you be a part of the Ministerial Association as well then?
I am, yeah. So I was able to be present at one of the meetings. The first meeting took place and I had arrived the day before. So I missed the memo and wasn't able to attend that first one, but the second one I was able to attend and got to know some of the other ministers around the community. Great being able to be introduced to them and have some good conversations with those other people who are serving.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important because we all have the same goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Make the world a better place, right? And use our gifts that God has given to us to glorify Him and to work together. So,
yeah, you're probably one of the younger priests who have served here as well. You probably get that from time to time, don't you?
I do. Yeah, it's someone said, I don't remember the last time we had a young priest. So part of it makes me feel good. I was in the classroom before we came, and we were talking about some of the students. I was in the 4th grade class, and they mentioned when they were born, and it didn't necessarily make me feel young at that point, that I've been a priest longer than they've been alive. But still, at the same time, I feel young. I feel young at heart, and I'm excited to, be able to serve in the capacity that I can in my youthfulness, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to welcome you to be a part of the community here and to be on the morning show. We hope to have you back as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Your predecessor, Monsignor Shekel, was on one time in 15 years. I couldn't get him back after the first time I scared him away. So hopefully we didn't scare you away today.
I think this went pretty well.
So do I. Mrs. Kolstad, anything else you want to add today?
No, I just thank you for your support and this opportunity. And of course, if anyone ever has questions about our school, you are welcome to call, get a tour, whatever that might be. But we just, like I said, we're doing a lot more initiatives trying to get our students out and about in the community. So we just appreciate all of that support.
And I see at some of the high school events as well, as you mentioned these 8th graders, they graduate, they go on to other area schools, and you get a chance to see them in their community events. That's kind of exciting too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is fun to see our students when they leave here. I was just at the National Honor Society induction. We just have so many good students in our community that are doing really great things. So I have a high schooler myself now. It just gives me more of those opportunities. But to see our past graduates and the other Richland School District kids that are doing great things is very fun.
Stacia Kolstad, our guest, and Father Nate Kuhn. And we also had our guests on from the 8th grade today. We had Isaac Newberry. We had Bailey Wirtz, Brielle Whedon on today's morning show from WRCO.